system.
Babkar Suare, the education director whose region is hosting this meeting, is very optimistic that schools in his region are doing very well as far as policy is concerned. Louis Mendy, Grts.
The National Roads Authority would like to inform the general public that Sting Corner Road and the new bypass road would be open to traffic starting Wednesday, 23rd October 2013. The NRA urges all drivers and other road users to obey the temporary road signs and markings. A media release from NRA adds that works on the swampy section, which it says entails the bulk of the civil works component of the project, will be dealt with by mid-November 2013. During this period, the release continues, the road will be closed again to traffic and the general public will be duly informed. Members of the Public Accounts and Public Enterprises Committees of the National Assembly continued sittings with the scrutiny of the activity reports of public institutions and agencies, and the latest to face deputies were officials of the National Youth Service Scheme, NYSS. Buba Sise was at the Assembly chambers and he now tells us more.
Service Scheme NYSS appear before the deputies at the National Assembly to present their annual activity and audited financial reports before the joint session of the Public Accounts, Public Enterprises Committees, short for PAC-PEC, on Monday. But the honorable members of the Assembly were quick to express their dismay at the NYSS's failure of not presenting proper documentation of their activity reports, attributing it to a number of factors. The Speaker of the National Assembly quickly observed that there are misleading components stated in the letter sent by the NYSS to PAC-PEC.
I think there are three misleading components in this letter. One, the board, where is it? And the two, I think the accounts are in progress. I think the accounts are still they were never submitted, and that one also is a question. Why is to you have talked about a board, chair being away, and all is still in progress. I think this letter in itself is very confusing in the sense that it is not showing us what the actuality is on the ground there in the NYSS.
The National Assembly member for Tumani constituency, Honorable Neti Balde, recalled that the NYSS was at the PAC-PEC press briefing during which they were told to put their house in order before this day.
The NYSS was here for the press briefing for the PAC-PEC. And the NYSS is very cognizant of the fact that we had indicated to them we will frown on requests for deferral if they are not received on time. And we had even been generous enough to suggest to institutions that would require deferral because they have problems with their accounts to come forward much earlier, none of which was complied to by the NYSS.
Speakers after speakers expressed their disappointment about the way things are happening in and around the National Youth Service Scheme, NYSS. It is observed by the majority of honorable members at this particular session that the representation of the NYSS officials at the joint session of PAC-PEC is not adequately complete, as the financial controller, the board chair, and some key players in the institutions were not in attendance. It was only the acting executive director accompanied by the acting permanent secretary at the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Thus, in order for the institution to progress with its programs for the ultimate purpose of youth development as the cream of society, the young people, a proper management should be put in place to steer the affairs of this institution in question for posterity. The public auditor and chartered accountant, Rennie Geoffrey Renner, and the consultant and subject matter specialist, Alhaj T.S. Njai, expressed similar concerns over the way NYSS is being run.
Now, I believe the acting executive director said the activity report was ready. So I don't know why, in fact, it has not been forwarded, because that would have discharged the responsibility of maybe the chief executive. But they do not have a financial director or there is nobody acting as of now. So it puts me in a very strange position to wonder whether, in fact, going forward, whether it's a reasonable expectation to say that if they were allowed to go through the process of preparing financial statements ready for audit, in the absence of these key staff who should be there, whether in fact they're able to execute that particular responsibility. I'm not quite sure.
Even if the accounts are completed, in the absence of a board, there will be no directors to accept ownership of the accounts. So accountability process is interfered with. I therefore recommend that the joint session consider declaring them non-compliant with a reprimand and to recommend certain things to be done between now and the next PAC session, one of which is for the line ministry to commence and complete a proper restructuring of the NYSS system. Ensure that a proper management is put in place and competent finance personnel are recruited who will have responsibility for preparing these accounts on time, and of course a board should be in place.
The acting executive director of NYSS, Sute Jao, has this to say.
As a people and as a ministry, we could not really be able to bring our reports on time, not as a result of incompetence or whatsoever we may call it, but it is as a result of the current magnitude of issues that surrounds the institution and the kind of work that we are trying to really bring forward to this August body. Because we could not be able to bring anything into this August body that is completely either misinforming or at all not found. We truly want to bring in something for you that could be chewable by any given genuine politician.
The NYSS was created by an Act of Parliament in 1996, charged with the responsibility, among other things, to develop the skills of the Gambia's precious gifts, the young people, to be self-reliant in order for them to contribute meaningfully to the socio-economic advancement of the country. Buba Sise, Grts.
The third batch of Gambian pilgrims from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia arrived in Banjul on Monday, just a day after the first and fourth batches returned from Mecca. The latest flight brought 320 pilgrims who were met at the Banjul International Airport by government officials as well as relatives and friends. The final is expected to land tonight at 8 p.m. Details of those arrivals shall come in our subsequent news bulletins. A three-day forum on the participation of non-governmental organizations towards the 54th Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights has ended in Banjul on Sunday. The forum, hosted by the African Center for Democracy and Human Rights Studies in collaboration with the Secretariat of NGOs, the African Commission for Human and People's Rights and other partners, ended with the adoption of resolutions for onward distribution to the African Commission for consideration on the 54th Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. Rohibite reports.
Organizations towards the 54th Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights and the 28th African Human Rights Books Fair has ended in Banjul after 3 days of dialogue on the ways of improving human rights status on the continent. As part of their resolutions, this group of human rights defenders called for the promotion and protection of human rights in Africa, the rights of children born in prison, and many others. Those resolutions, however, are hoping to be incorporated into the African Commission. Calling for African states to develop national laws that are geared towards the promotion of human rights, Phil Lynch, a human rights defender and advocate, highlighted the significance of making human rights advances in Africa. Speaking on behalf of the African youths, Fatima Sidwan of the Youth Alliance, the Gambia, considered that human rights remain key, but argued there exist many more important areas in Africa that needs attention. She also challenged stakeholders to translate the Maputo Protocol in local languages so as to enable uneducated people to benefit from it.
Our mothers are important and they must be treated with respect all over the African continent. The programs that seek to help them about their human rights problems must help them know about the existence of Maputo Protocol, to understand what it stands for and how to use it in the villages of Africa to survive over their